we've owned cafes, we've owned roasteries, we've worked in super high volume coffee shops, we've worked in super slow coffee shops, we've struggled, we've you know taken gotten super high trying to dial in a coffee and gotten nowhere with it. And like, we get it, we've been there.
This episode is proudly brought to you by Mapper Forward's workshop. It's time to become a coffee consultant. Learn how to diversify your revenue streams and create freedom from your day job while saying goodbye to that alarm clock forever by becoming a consultant within the coffee industry or directly to consumers who have shifted towards home brewing and home roasting. Protect your income from challenging times in the coffee value chain by taking this course today. Go to mapperforward.coffee/workshops or click the link in the show notes for details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is unfortunately the final episode of this series. It's been a great conversation so far. The conversation did not go in the direction that I think either of us expected it to, Spencer. Do you agree?
Yeah, those are the best kinds.
Yeah, word. So where we're going to end this series is kind of where we naturally ended the kind of vibe of the last discussion, which is that I definitely feel that there's an emerging shift in culture amongst espresso techs. And let me explain what I mean by that and where the last episode ended. When I was working in cafes, and I was a barista for 15 years, and I was intentionally didn't get into business ownership and owning cafes. I loved being a barista. The one thing that I really noticed about espresso techs was that they were really just technical guys. They weren't really coffee guys. They were technicians. And I feel like talking to you, and we didn't really know each other. We had one conversation before this series. I feel like talking to you, I'm starting to realize, and knowing Madeline, technicians these days were coffee people first and then became technician. And there's this shift in culture that's happening where your espresso tech can have opinions about the industry and what's going on in coffee because they've been in other parts of the industry and have become technicians as well. Am I understanding that correctly?
I feel like that's the way things are moving. More and more of the well, I should say I was totally isolated from other technicians before really the service layer Discord took off.
Oh, wow.
I found a strong community there. I thought when I started my company, I was like, we're going to be different from everybody else because all the technicians I've ever interacted with were ex HVAC or ex electrical or ex plumbing or whatever. I've got a coffee background and we're going to be unique in that way. And it was 2.5, 3 or 4 years I'd been doing this before this Discord happened. And I had a relationship with Technico in Nashville, Bronny's in Atlanta. And I started to realize there's other young technicians who have coffee backgrounds. And then this Discord thing happened. I was like, oh my God, there's all these people who have coffee backgrounds. And yeah, so I very much think that the culture, the technicians who are really going to have an impact in their local economies and on the industry at large are the ones who have those coffee backgrounds. It allows us to bring a lot of compassion to our and understanding to our business relationships. We've owned cafes, we've owned roasteries, we've worked in super high volume coffee shops, we've worked in super slow coffee shops, we've struggled, we've taken gotten super high trying to dial in a coffee and gotten nowhere with it. And we get it, we've been there. So it just allows us to bring a certain sensitivity to how we approach again being really more like consultants with technical solutions, how we approach those relationships, those long-term partnerships with our clients.
It's really lovely to see because it sounds to me as though you guys can bring a new layer of empathy to the whole relationship. And when cafe owners are trying to build something that's going to last, the equipment seems to be one of those really difficult decisions to make. And I know with my consulting clients, the one thing that they're always worried about is, what if I pick the wrong equipment? How do I know I'm going to buy the right espresso machine? I know that I want this espresso machine, but I can't afford that espresso machine. And I don't have the budget for that. So anything else that I'm going to buy, anything else that I'm going to buy is not going to be what I want. Now I'm in a precarious position of not knowing what to pick that's going to take care of me. And if I'm hearing you correctly, previously, espresso techs were like, listen, I'm just here to fix it and install it and to take care of that stuff. Now, if there's a shift in culture that's going on, now your espresso tech can really be an advisor on a project if they are the right kind of espresso tech, this kind of next gen espresso tech. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And implicit in that is like a lot of trust, right? Like you're coming to me asking me to help you pick the right investment, and maybe the most costly investment that you're going to make into your cafe in the short term, the most expensive single thing that you're going to spend money on, right? Like obviously your investment in your staff is long term, and that's payroll. Anyway, there's a lot of trust that we are asking for in an arrangement like that, and there's an extent to which in markets where people are accustomed to buying equipment online based on what they've read about the equipment or what the marketers put out about the equipment, or are asking their roasters about the equipment. The roasters, sometimes roasters have there's certain manufacturers who decided that their best sales channel was the roasters.
Right.
So they were going to give the roasters, any roaster, kind of wholesale pricing. And I understand that thinking. Like, don't get me wrong, manufacturers do need to move units. I talked a lot of shit about people just wanting to move units, but they need to move units, right? How they do that has a huge effect on the long-term customer satisfaction with that manufacturer. Roasters have different priorities. They might want their coffee to be represented a certain way. They might have only one wholesale equipment relationship. So that's the only equipment that they sell. They don't have options. They don't understand. And then furthermore, they are not invested in inventory. They're not invested in wrenching on equipment day in and day out. So like, a roaster might be able to give you a machine at their cost or 10% above cost, which by the way, makes their bottom line look terrible at the end of the year. But then like they can't support it long-term, and then they're put in the same position that the manufacturers put themselves in, which is that they're trying to look for support from the local tech, who really knows how to do all that and has invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory to support that machine, but didn't get the sale. And that roaster did it to get a sale for a customer who is going to like switch roasters in a couple years or start roasting their own coffee in a couple years. Those long-term roaster partnerships are getting rarer and rarer and rarer. And I think roasters need to come up. I went off on another tangent, but I think roasters need to come up with other ways to invest in their clients to attract clients, beyond the whole like cheap equipment thing. Like, it's pretty short-sighted. So anyway, establishing trust with the client so that they understand that we are going to try almost to treat them as a fiduciary would treat them. That our first fealty is to their success and their well-being, and then we recognize that in the short term, it's not worth it to me to make an extra $6,000 on this sale, just to get get you to buy your first machine and make more money off you on the first one. Like I want to have the service revenue. I want to I want to help you grow your business. I want to help you, all that kind of stuff. And so, yes, advising, and I would encourage cafe owners who have a technician in their market to find out who else has worked with that technician. Call around, get referrals. Like word of mouth is the best. Is the best. What's the word I'm looking for? Sales channel for us. And if 15 or 20 other cafes in your town say that this technician is awesome to work with, you can bet they're probably going to be awesome to work with, and like you can take their recommendations to heart.
Tell me, are you guys nervous about the tension that's in the industry with this coffee crisis that we've been talking about?
I think like probably there's like a low level buzz anxiety about that in the long term. I think right now we're a little more focused on making sure that this trade is sustainable for us for the long term. Even if the landscape shifts a little bit.
What if okay, there are a lot of people that are talking about the landscape shifting a little bit. We're currently in the territory of the landscape shifting a little bit.
Yeah, it is shifting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's say 2025, the C market, which is at 250 now, goes to, I don't know, 350. I think it's going to go much higher than that. But even 350. Do Espresso Techs, are you guys keeping an eye on that and what the kind of the aftershocks of that earthquake, how that will impact a saturated market?
Not a lot of our like day in, day out conversation is around long-term economic projections.
Okay.
I agree with you that that's going to have a huge effect. During COVID, the C market was up at
250.
How high did it get to 350?
250.
Yeah. 250. Okay. And it's still at 2. I haven't bought coffee in so long.
It's gone
I haven't
up
checked
and
the C
down,
market.
right? But
okay.
So this week it hit 250 and roasters around the world started panicking and coffee producers around the world started saying, I'm going to hang on to my coffee because I think that this motherfucker's going higher.
Yeah.
And so now the supply of coffee is going down. And now we're going to start to see, it's game time now.
Yeah.
And what I'm wondering is, like, out of curiosity, and I hadn't thought about this before this conversation, which is what I love about conversations. But are you guys thinking, well, we currently sit in a saturated market, which is fantastic for you guys. What happens when we start to hit a desaturation point?
It's a supply and demand thing. Like, there's a degree to which, so like I think technicians who are highly adaptable, who have a diversified set of services, a diversified client base, are going to weather that a lot better. I think there's a degree to which when if we don't have a lot of clients anymore, coming up with new services. I think there's a lot of room to innovate at the service level for technicians.
Okay.
Helping people open cafes who want to, but maybe are a bit gun shy.
Okay.
In the way of resources and things like that. But at the end of the day, like, there's always gonna, just from like I'm not saying I would love it, right? But there's always gonna be equipment that needs fixing. And a lot of us stay away from like the convenience store world, the like big third-party managed services world. But those markets are
It's
going
an
to
option.
continue.
Right.
It's an option. And I think a lot of us are going to have to decide why we're doing this. You know,
Right.
like, is it because this is the best career for us, regardless of what the world looks like? Or is it because we really enjoy the aspects of specialty that may become rarer and rarer?
Mm.
So I don't know. I think, you know, we can like try to project about that stuff, but at the end of the day, like, we have to take it on a day-to-day basis. We have to decide like what makes sense right now. You know, what's the next
Yeah.
right thing?
Mm. I mean, I can see where you're going. I know Chattanooga, Tennessee is the center of the universe for pretty much everything to do with everything. But, you
Yeah.
know, I'm sure you guys are even going to be affected if if there's a
No, I will.
desaturation.
We will. Yeah.
But there are other options, right? You guys can start to service espresso machines at home. You can start to service them
Sure.
in offices and stuff like that. So that won't be shifting.
Or like we contract, right? So we say like, I'm going to keep these 10 clients,
Mhm.
which means that my workload goes down by 70%, and I can spend my time doing something else.
Right.
Like I can still take care of them, but I'm going to do, I love doing what I do. I love coffee, but there's like,
A million
there's so
other
many
things
other
you could
things
do.
I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, you know, there's a degree to which, even in where we are now, a technician has to choose between, much like a farmer, between like the low quality volume game
Right.
and the super boutique.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, the high volume,
Yeah.
high volume, low quality, and low volume, super
Yeah.
boutique
Yeah.
thing. Like I could do one-off golden espresso machines.
Right.
I'm not going to, but you could. And
I wouldn't
so
think
like,
any less of you if you did. Somebody's got to do it, right?
so like you have to pick where you are on the spectrum. Are you
Right.
super experimental and innovative and like kind of, but like probably not making a ton of money? Or are you, or maybe you are, it's like super art house. I don't know. It's sort of like the custom bike building scene, you know, like with motorcycles.
Fascinating watching you think stream of consciousness.
So like we're gonna have, we have to navigate that now, and
Yeah.
we're gonna have to navigate that in the future.
Yeah.
But the pool might be a bit smaller,
Yeah.
or whatever. So like we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, we're all going to have to. That is the
Yeah.
the beautiful thing about this crisis that we're all about to go. We've already started going through it, but this crisis is across the entire supply chain. Ain't nobody getting out of this unscathed.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's going to be impacted. Podcasts are going to be impacted. That's how weird it's going to be. So I think, you know, we're here to document the history of it. That's what our role is in this, and to provide any kind of support that we can. But it's going to get weird. It started getting weird, and we just get to see where it goes from here. I got to say, Spencer, I didn't know what to expect from this conversation. I knew I was going to enjoy it.
I didn't either,
but I didn't know what to expect from it. I am
cool.
I am really pleasantly surprised at where this conversation has the arc of this conversation. You have actually taught me a lot and enlightened me a lot about where espresso techs, who were not really on my radar, but you are now. And so you've definitely done your industry, your profession a service. And I think a lot of us are going to think about espresso techs a little differently now. So thanks for a great conversation.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I'm honored to be able to speak for so many excellent technicians out there. And again, I realize like a lot of people have been burned by bad actors, but like there are more and more amazing, humble, empathetic, wise, creative techs out there all the time. And it's a very exciting time for me to be a technician. I think we need to work, just to like maybe put a cap on your last question, like in general, people in the industry whose hearts are really, really in it really need to focus on resiliency. And I think maybe if you've been in it a long time, you've had to develop a lot of resiliency. But people who got in and over leveraged themselves on debt to like make a quick buck off the industry, I think are going to be a lot of the ones we see shutting down. And I think the people who understand the sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Who understand it in their gut and are not playing a game of knowledge, but are playing a game of like experience and wisdom, are going to find good paths forward. I don't think specialty is going away. I think it's going to be a lot harder to engage with. And
that's a whole other podcast.
It is. Anyway,
I would love to have that conversation with you.
Yeah, that's true.
But
thank you for having me, though.
Oh, dude, it's my pleasure. I hope you come back. Tell me where, if people want to find out more about, it seems like you guys are creating this community of espresso techs that you can vouch for and that you are, hold yourselves to a certain standard. If people want to meet some of you folks and get in contact with you and perhaps get some recommendations of espresso techs that are close to their area, how do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so they can check out the website servicelayer.coffee. It is fairly sparse right now, but it's doing, I think, what it needs to do right now really well. There's a map. You can find your city and find technicians who are members of the service layer who are close to you. If you don't have a technician close to you listed on the map, contact another technician on the service layer website, and we speak in the Discord amongst ourselves all the time, saying, sharing leads that we get. If somebody calls me in a territory that I can't support realistically, I'll pass that lead on to that technician. But yeah, servicelayer.coffee. Talk to your local technician. Ask them if they know about the service layer. There's an industry-wide channel in the Discord where we, if you're a service technician or you're a roaster that has like a tech department, you can get involved there in the beginning. And we interface with manufacturers there, all kinds of stakeholders. But as it stands now, like it's pretty simple. We have the website.
Great.
With the map, and we have a Discord. And if you're a technician listening to this and you want to be a part of the service layer, send an email to the email address on the service layer website.
Okay. And that's service layer for people
correct.
who, because it sounds like you're saying service slayer.
I know.
This is not a slayer thing. So it's fine.
Nope.
There will be links in the show notes, folks. So check out the links that are in the show notes. Once again, Spencer, this has been fantastic. Would you do me the honor of signing off the episode for us?
Be happy to. Mind? Peace, love, and peanut butter, everybody. Thanks for having me, Lee.
You're welcome, mate. Have an amazing rest of your day, everyone. Bye. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon. And stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward.